Hello guys, welcome to another video. I had recently made a post where I asked what would you like to see first, and you voted for the reviews. And before I start the video, I'm going to break really quickly how it is going to work. Before I start the video, I will quickly explain how this is going to work. At first I will break down the episode and what happened in it, and then I will break down each and every aspect I liked and I disliked, and at the end I will put it into a tier list so that at the end of the series we have entire tier list of the entire show until 7 and 8 comes out, and I'm still begging for a second season, but until then, let's start with the video. And little disclaimer, Monodons is still my favorite thing in the universe, but at least for this review I have to turn off my fanboy heart, at least for a little bit, so that I can rate everything objectively. We start the first episode with a little explanation of what even is going on in this world. Basically a quick summary. We had an exoplanet with a bunch of sentient AI. So humans messed something up and every human life on the planet got wiped out, which left the robots alone. This is not very liked by the company, so the company sent a bunch of disassembly drones to get rid of all the sentient AI. After that, we are introduced to the main character of the series, Uzi. She was the person who was explaining this backstory to us as a presentation to her class, and Uzi goes on to explain that they can't just sit around here all day and wait for something to happen, and pulls out this
sick as hell railgun,
which blows up in her face, literally. After that, we are switching locations and introduced to the rest of the important main characters, Lizzie and Doll.
It didn't kill her. Oh my god.
But they're not going to be important for the next 2 episodes. Anyways, at next we meet Fat. He's the guy who is admired by every girl. Uzi also has a big crush on him. That means he will probably be an important character in the future. Am I right? Anyways, after that Uzi starts sneaking out of the bunker. And after that we get to see some of the outside world, and at this point I gotta mention how beautiful this entire scenery looks. I mean, you have to remember yourself, this is firstly only the pilot episode, and secondly, and in my opinion, it looks even better than some things that are produced by actual film studios. But anyways, after that, we are introduced to someone. I wish I could say I won't spoiler it for you, but I already have used them in the background, so this is N. He's the second protagonist of the show. He starts to fight with Uzi, but Uzi manages to defeat him with the help of her railgun after a close match. But he suddenly starts to regenerate his head, so Uzi tries to shoot him again, but her gun is on cooldown, so she takes one of the separate hands lying around and slaps him in the face, which breaks one of his optical visors, the things on his head, because it starts glowing red instead of yellow, and that's why he is unable to recognize her as a worker drone. And after that, Uzi wants to leave, but she can't because N had stuck her in the hand, but he explains how his saliva neutralizes the nanites.
Stuck yourself? Just pop it in your mouth. Our saliva neutralizes the nanites. Otherwise, I'd be constantly disassembling myself.
And that's why they're going together in the landing pod and have a little chat.
Sure, I love doing anything. Sweet, I'm open to new things, I guess.
In that, we are introduced to the next 2 members of their squad, V.
First, there's V.
And J.
N, you're worthless and terrible. And if the company allowed it, I would straight up kill you myself.
J's awesome.
And speaking of that, they are already arrived back from hunting. Uzi flees back into the bunker, reactivate his optical sensor, and realize that he was talking to a worker drone, and he goes to hunt her down. Little side note, because I forgot to mention it, also in the conversation between Uzi and N, or they both recognize that they are not so different like they thought they were, and this is going to be important in just a second. Uzi arrives back into the bunker and tries to close the first door, but at last minute, N is able to get to the door in time to tear it open with the help of his claws, and he is just hold the door open until he has enough time to put his stinger through the crack and open the door with it. And I don't know how long this review is already, but this leads us into one of our 2 main action sequences. I'm not going to go too much into the details here, but I'm going to point out some of the highlights or something that is going to be important later. Anyways, I didn't mention it until now, but those worker drones are supposed to be the defense group if a disassembly drone is able to breach through the door. As you can see, they are not very effective at that, and N gets rid of them one by one. And this little detail that N feasts on one of the workers is important, because a little detail of lore is that the disassembly drones are like vampires, for example. They need to feed on the blood, on the oil of the worker drones to don't overheat and die. I mentioned this specifically now because this is one of my points I have to criticize about the show, because at first it was supposed to be a slice of life kind of type of show, but Liam Vickers, the creator of the show, has decided to change it a little bit through the course of the series to something that we have now. So many amazing plot points got completely ignored after the 3rd episode or something, which I personally find really sad, but let's continue. After N finished off all the worker drones, he hides in the vents to surprise attack Uzi and pin her down to a wall, and her dad is too scared to do anything and closes the door and basically leaves Uzi to die. And N even feels kinda sorry for her, but before he can do anything, the other 2 disassembly drones come over to congratulate him for once that he was able to crack the door open, and as V is trying to find another way inside the bunker, while N and J have a little conversation, and N mentions how he's maybe not so different from the worker drones than they think, and that he has no clue what the company is going to do to them, which Jay doesn't like to hear that and gives some form of virus tracker, or I don't know what this is, it's never used again, to N, which leaves him to be self-destruct himself. And after that, Jay goes and catches up with Wee, and Uzi comes out of hiding, and originally she didn't want to help N, but Uzi feels sorry for N and decides to help him, and both of them team up to take down Jay and V. And there's the second fight scene I mentioned. At first, the battle starts off with Uzi throwing a pen towards Jay, so to hit her yellow thing on top of her head. Think it's some form of targeting mechanisms, I don't know. After Jay is blinded, she tries to fire some random shots at Uzi. If you slow down the frame in just the right second, you can see that some form of symbol activates in Uzi's eye. For all the people that are already familiar with the series, then they are going to know what this means, but this video is kind of directed for all the newcomers to murder drones, so I won't spoil it for now. Anyways, and Jay weirdly misses all the bullets, but after that Jay uses EMP cannon, which I need to appreciate, that is used again later in the series, to knock out Uzi. N sees this while he's fighting with Wee and decides to use some unconventional tactics. And this is the only point in the fight where he actually uses his full strength, because if you see most of the scenes, he doesn't really fight, he just defends. But while Jay is monologuing, Uzi manages to sting her leg with her own stinger, which makes her trip and fall to the ground. Uzi uses her trusted railgun to obliterate most of her parts to dust, or oil, I would say. And everyone comes out cheering. I don't know why Uzi stumbles back, but she's catched by Yen, and while everyone is cheering, Uzi's dad wants to say something, but before he can say anything, Uzi tells to him that she had enough and banishes herself.
I'll save you the trouble, Dad. I banish myself!
And after that, Uzi and N are leaving together with the now captured V. And now it's like the little post-credit scene, I would call it. I don't know how much of that is canon anymore, but you can see Uzi sitting on a car looking at the sunset. N is in the Tower of Corpses and says he would join Uzi, but the sun would kill him if he goes out there. And Uzi starts a whole monologue about she's going to exterminate all the humans. But a little detail I mentioned earlier, you can see how in her eyes activate something, a program called the Absolute Solver. If you pause in the right seconds, I don't know if I can manage it, but in the first frame you can see how at first it says Absolute Solver program false, then it starts glitching with a warning that something is being overwritten, and now there stands Absolute Solver activated. And then we switch back to Uzi's normal eyes, while she's laughing, and the camera pans out into the sky and we see multiple more landing pods. This implies that more disassembly drones are coming, which isn't true, sadly. This finishes off the summary, and now I can do the actual review. I have a few points that I really want to criticize, but the main one is that it feels like that all the episodes 1, 2 and 3 were first written and then there was a change in plans, and up until 4, 5 and 6 were completely different stories. I know this is only a review of the first episode, so that means I can't rate it too harsh because I'm only ranking the individual episodes and not the story of the episode in the entire show. But to be honest, this is all I actually can criticize, because the rest of the pilot episode is amazing. I mean, we do not have to talk about the animation. The animation is incredibly, in my personal opinion, this is even better than some things real studios produce nowadays. And what I can mention else, I like the plot of the individual episode. It's extremely entertaining, and also little details in the background, or for example, like I mentioned, the little symbol in Uzi's eye flashing. The series rewards you if you pay attention, which I love, and the characters are charming and entertaining, most of them, and there's nothing much I can otherwise say. The story is not really there yet. You first have to establish all the characters, and the story is only picking up pace in the next episode or to the end of the episode, but that isn't a problem, it's a pilot episode after all. So I wouldn't put this episode quite in S tier, but it's too good to be a B tier, so I would say it's a solid A tier. And I'm interested in what did you think about the episode, and should I review to the rest of the episodes? So, and this finishes off this video. I hope you're having a great rest of your day, and remember,
That's only the beginning.